My mic was not on. Thank you very much. Good morning. Welcome to the Lancaster County Board of Commissioners meeting for Tuesday, July 14th. I am the chair, Sean Flowerday. With me is Vice Chair and Commissioner Rick Vest, and Commissioners Roma Amundsen, Deb Shore, and Christy Yoakum. Please rise and join me for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Mr. Clerk, please begin.
A copy of the Nebraska Open Meetings Act is located on the wall at the rear of the hearing room. Additionally, a copy of our material to be discussed at today's open meeting is available from the county clerk staff at the front of the hearing room. The material can also be viewed on the county's website at lancaster.ne.gov. Agenda item 1 are minutes. Approve the minutes of the Board of Commissioners meeting held on Tuesday, July 7th, 2020.
I move approval.
Second?
We have a motion and a second. Is there any discussion? Please call the roll.
Shore,
Yes.
Amundsen,
Yes.
Yoakum,
Yes.
Vest,
Yes.
Flowerday.
Yes.
Motion carries 5-0. Number 2 are claims. 2A is review of vouchers 689124 through 689135 payable to Candace Worcester in a total amount of $19,388.30 for services performed in the juvenile court in 2018 and 2019.
I will move we deny the claim.
I will second that.
We have a motion and a second. Is there any discussion?
We have someone raising.
Yeah, Ms.
Sorry, I'm here for it. I don't know how it works.
You can,
Oh,
you
okay.
can come on down.
Okay. To speak here.
Mhm.
I had submitted a letter. I'm not sure if everybody had received that letter. I guess in looking at the claims, the total amount for the claims is the $19,000 and change. But in looking at the amount submitted that was actually late, that total is the $7,000, roughly $624. If you look at the entirety of the claim, those claims, I understand that they were submitted late, outside the 3-month to 6-month time frame. However, some of the claims were submitted within the appropriate time, and at best, I do not think that those amounts should be denied. The amount reflected, the $19,000, is reflected of the entirety. It's roughly, I'd have to double check my math, but roughly $11,763 that is within the time frame, and so it's the $7,600 that's out. As I noted in my letter, I take responsibility for filing late.
That's Candace Worcester, yeah.
Oh,
Well,
sorry.
You
I-
didn't say your name when you started, ma'am.
Oh.
That's why.
Sorry, I jumped right in. My name is Candace Wooster, Wooster. I'm just speaking on behalf of myself for the submission of the claim. But I don't really have anything in addition to add besides what was in the letter. Just if there is going to be any denial, I would request that it would only be denied the amount that's late and not the entirety of the claim. Are there any questions?
I guess I have a question. Kevin, is it normal, the claim was all submitted together, I understand that. I mean, what would your normal procedure be, to pull out the part that is or deny the entirety?
It's my understanding that when we got the claim, that there was a piece that was current and a piece that was past the 60-day, the rule in there. And when we looked at that, we split it apart at that point and we paid the current portion. So I believe you got a check maybe 2 weeks ago, week and a half ago, or direct deposit for the piece that was already current.
Nothing from the 13 cases that I've submitted have been paid. I think everybody's been waiting until this time.
I'll have to go back and look, but I was relatively confident we'd gone ahead and paid the current piece, but I'll go back and look. if you,
Well, I will pull my motion. If there are
Sure.
dollar amounts within the 19,000 that are current, those certainly should be paid.
Yeah.
on the agenda,
Isn't there a
there should be the link.
denial here is not necessarily denial in total, right? Isn't there a process for review or appeal following our denial? I thought there was.
Well, I
I
think
thought that's what we
others could
discussed.
come back.
I won't speak to the process for appeal of denial, because I'm not going to give legal advice to someone who may be adverse to the county, but I would like to advise the board that they may make a motion to deny all the claims that are past the 90 days, and that would clean up the motion.
Okay.
Okay.
I will amend my motion then to deny the claims that are past the 90, the portion of the claims that are past the 90 day.
No, I will second that.
Okay.
So, and sorry, if I may clarify, it's my understanding through the juvenile court that we have a 3 to 6 month time frame to pay, or to submit our claims. And so
90 days.
with the 90-day being denied, that the 7,500 that I looked at was everything beyond the 6 months time frame. I filed my claims in June, and so from January to June, again, it's my understanding we have the 3 to 6 months, and so everything that's beyond from January 2020 and back, that's the total, that's the $7,624.
Section 23-135 says there's a 90-day claim procedure for the county. It's not a 6 month time frame.
If there appears to be some discussion, maybe we could send an email to juvenile court so they are notifying all of their contracted attorneys that it is a 90-day. If there is some misunderstanding out there that is 3 to 6 months, not 1 day to 3 months.
Yeah.
Okay.
I have just had claims for the 6 month time frame that were approved. And so perhaps that's some of my confusion, but they typically have been approved if it's been within the 3 to 6 month time frame.
I went back and looked, and yes, that report is what I remembered. On that report, there's some that's current, and there are some that are past the 90-day rule. I believe, a week or 2 weeks ago, we did approve a claim for the current piece, but I can go back and verify that. But
So-
yes, it'd be my understanding we'd want to pay anything that's within the 90 days, submitted within the 90 days, but anything outside of that would be part of Commissioner Schnorr's motion.
I have had 2 claims paid they were fees submitted with amounts from January to June 2020. I had 2 of those, and they were submitted. They're not part of the 19,000 that's being looked at today.
Okay. I'll go back and take a look and pull the whole report and look at it in its totality.
Okay. Thank you, Kevin.
Mhm.
Okay. Yeah.
I'll take one run at this. Ma'am, as I'm understanding it, you feel like some of these claims that are separate from what the ones Kevin is talking about were submitted in a 3 to 6 month window? Is that why you're saying they're not late, or?
Yes, so I submitted 15 juvenile fees. 2 of the fees had time between January and June 2020. Those 2 fees have been submitted and paid and approved. So those 2 are not part of it. And they only had amounts between the January and June 2020. These amounts here are, the ending date is roughly June 2020, and 3 of them have a couple of amounts in December or October 2018 going through until June 2020. And so those include late amounts. And so the late amounts of the $7,624 are from 2018 until December 31st, 2019. Because it is my understanding that we have the 3 to 6 month window, because that's what typically has been getting approved.
I'm sorry, I don't think it is a 3 to 6 month window. Maybe that's is that the state? Maybe that's a different,
Yeah.
governmental body. It always is 90 days, and if anything were coming in past 90 days, this board would have to approve it. I just,
Yeah.
like, I can speak with some assurity that we haven't approved any payments past 90 days for you. We just haven't. I would remember it, I think.
And I might like to say that we really do need to observe the 90-day. And I don't know where the 3 to 6 month, where that comes in, but we do have that within our statutes for the 90 days. And if we fail to, and if we pass it, then we are creating a precedent that would be not good.
Right, and I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
You go ahead, sorry.
Well, I was just going to say also, in this one, we're going back
Yeah.
2 fiscal years. I mean, we're already into the 2021 fiscal year, so we would be going back 2 fiscal years to
Yeah.
approve a claim, and I'm not comfortable doing that.
Yeah, I'm not.
And I understand, and as I reported in my letter, I take responsibility for what I did, even though everything that was going on, it was still up to me. Regardless, it was work I did, and so I was just asking forgiveness from the board for the approval of the roughly 7,624 that was late. Are there other questions?
Is there any further discussion? Any further questions for Ms. Wooster? Hearing none, please call the roll.
Vest,
Just to make sure, the motion is to deny all claims that were submitted outside the 90-day limit. Yes, yes.
Shore,
Yes.
Amundson,
Yes.
Yocum,
Yes.
Flowerday.
Yes.
Motion carries 5-0. 2B is approval of all claims processed through July 14, 2020.
I move approval.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Is there any discussion? Please call the roll.
Yocum,
Yes.
Vest,
Yes,
Shore,
Yes.
Amundson,
Yes.
Flowerday.
Yes.
Motion carries 5-0. Next is number 3, consent items. These are routine business items that are expected to be adopted without dissent. Any individual item may be removed for special discussion and consideration by a commissioner or by any member of the public without prior notice. Unless there is an exception, these items will be approved as one with a single vote of the Board of Commissioners. These items are approval of grant contract with Brabble Mill for the All Access Pass program in the amount of $64,025. Subawards with the following: Asian Community and Cultural Center for the Serving Immigrant and Refugee Youth Program in the amount of $48,500. Big Brothers Big Sisters Lincoln for Community-Based Mentoring Program in the amount of $36,286. Boys and Girls Club of Lincoln, Lancaster County for the Great Futures Initiative Program in the amount of $24,390. The Hub Central Access Point for young adults for the Back on Track program in the amount of $27,100. Lighthouse Inc. for the Strength Finders Coaching Program in the amount of $31,050. Rabble Mill for the All Access Pass program in the amount of $64,025. Amendments to the following county contracts: C-19-225 with Production Creek Specialty Advertising, annual supply, clothing, screen printed, and/or embroidered apparel. C-19-401 with Hamilton Equipment Company for annual supply, skid steer loader rental. Amendments to the following county contracts for annual supply, ice melt. C-19-621 with Egan Supply. C-19-622 with Helena Chemical Company. C-19-620 with Nebraska Landscape Solutions, Inc. Utility permits with no cost to the county for the following: Number 2003, allowing Windstream to reinstall communication lines due to County Project 19-20 for the removal and replacement of structure H115. Number 1998, allowing Windstream to install service at 5220 Northwest 105th Street. right-of-way contract with John and Charlotte Huck, North 14th Street and Branch Oak Road, in the amount of $1,609. Received and placed on file the following: County Attorney Office and County Sheriff's Office quarterly reports, County Clerk and Assessor Register Deeds reports for June 2020. Setting a public hearing on Tuesday, July 21st, 2020, regarding the proposed sale of property generally located at 300 Tyler Street in the city of Bennett, Lancaster County, Nebraska.
Move approval of the consent items.
I'll second.
We have a motion and a second. Is there any discussion? Please call the roll.
Amundson,
Yes.
Yocum,
Yes.
Vest,
Yes.
Shore,
Yes.
Flowerday.
Yes.
Motion carries 5-0. Next is number 4. This is a public hearing. This is County Text Amendment 19007 to amend the Lancaster County Zoning Resolution, Articles 2, 4, 5, 6, 7, 9, 13, and 17, related to large and small solar facilities. Do you solemnly swear or affirm that the testimony you're about to give is the truth and nothing but the truth?
I do. Steve Hendrickson with the Planning Department. We previously gave you a briefing on this, so we're just here today to answer any questions. I believe also we have David Levy in the audience today who wanted to talk about a text amendment, and we can certainly try to address that, and perhaps maybe David could explain it first.
Very good. All right, I guess, are there any here to testify in favor? Or, well, are there any questions for the staff? Let's start there. Doesn't seem like it. Thank you, Steve. All those here to testify in favor of the zoning amendment?
If I could, Sean,
Yeah.
we've had emails, 39 in support and 1 neutral.
Excellent. Thank you very much.
Mr. Chairman,
Do you solemnly swear that the testimony you're about to give is the truth and nothing but the truth?
I do. Thank you. Mr. Chairman, Commissioners, good morning. David Levy, Baird Home Law Firm, 625 South 14th Street here in Lincoln. Since this is a text amendment and it's of broad applicability to the entire county, I'm coming at this today as somebody who works with these type of regulations in counties around the state, and so I have a lot of familiarity, a lot of ability to compare them for their pros and cons, pluses and minuses. And by and large, I want to say this is an excellent set of regulations in my view. I want to thank the Planning Department and the Health Department for their work on it. It's very, I think, fair. It's easy to understand. It's workable. I think it'll incentivize development of these facilities while also giving adequate and fair protection to neighbors of these facilities. So that really is the primary point of my testimony. There is one item, as Mr. Hendrickson mentioned, that I do have some concern about, and that is the screening of non-participating residents. And let me, if I might, put up a diagram here. And I'll apologize in advance for the lawyer graphics, but hopefully it will make the point. So the screening in section, I believe it's 4A1, for non-participants would have the developer screen the entire property line owned by that non-participant. The situation I've drawn here is where somebody might own an 80-acre parcel, which would be half of a quarter section, meaning that on that longer property line, they would have a half-mile property line. That would be a half mile of screening if the current proposal were taken on its face. That seems unnecessary. The idea here really is to protect that residence and the person owning and living in that residence who doesn't want to participate in the solar project, who doesn't want to look at the solar panels perhaps. But all the way down at the other end, a half mile away, there's really no benefit to the burden on the developer of the additional cost of the screening. The screening typically consists of trees about every 25 feet, so it gets pretty expensive. And so the idea here, our proposal, and we've talked to the planning staff about it, and I believe the county attorney is working on some language for you as I speak here, is to really tie the screening to the residence itself. And to do that in 2 ways. One, only to require the screening if that residence, the closest wall of that residence, is within 300 feet of the property line with the solar panels. And the background on the 300 feet, you might be familiar, the city of Lincoln approved last year a special use permit for a large solar farm that's right on the edge of the city-county zoning jurisdiction. There were some subdivision acreage homeowners who were opposed to that project, and we negotiated with them and we were able to work that out. 300 feet of setback was the number that they wanted. Beyond 300 feet, they felt like they were fine with that. So that's where that number came from. That actually came from opponents of that special use permit. That 300 feet was what they felt was sufficient to give them the protection they wanted. So that's the basis for that. And then the other idea is that the screening would of course be along the residence and then 75 feet in front or in back or side to side, because you can't just stop right at the wall of the residence, right? Somebody walks out on their back deck or something, they should have the benefit of that screening. After 75 feet, the idea is that they would be looking at such an angle that the solar panels over here would be a long ways away and wouldn't be a bother to them. So that's the concept. Again, I think there may be some language coming forward. Other than that point, though, again, I want to thank the planning department and the health department for their work on this. I think, again, really it's an excellent set of regulations. And, ironically, without adopting this, right now, large solar farms are prohibited in the county zoning jurisdiction. So this is a big step forward, and with some change on the screening issue, I would encourage you to adopt these. Happy to answer any questions.
In your diagram, you said that would be a unique situation. Might we be better to approve the regulations as planned, and in a unique situation like that, have the applicant ask for a waiver?
You could do that, and I do think, in fairness, Commissioner, there probably will be requests for waivers on this, because screening is one of those things where there are different situations. However, I think just as a matter of kind of drafting and policy, it's better to start out not relying on waivers and trying to deal with that issue, because we do know that's an issue. And that is something, because of the expense of it, that I think will actually be a deterrent potentially to applicants. They'll see that and they won't want to take the risk that they might not get the waiver. So you're right, you could rely on that process, but in this case, I would encourage the commission instead to amend the regulations to make that clear.
Every situation is so unique, and your yellow piece of paper, we can't see the topography and where where the hills are and what screening is already there and where the road access is.
Right.
Just a different thought.
It's a fair point, but again, not to belabor it too much, I can't think of a situation, at least, where it would make sense to screen all the way down here. And that's really what we're talking about. If it's 75 feet either side of the residence, or 100 feet either side of the residence, something like that, if that's more comfortable for the commission, I can understand that. But, to have a developer thinking that they're going to have to plant trees every 25 feet for a half mile is a significant financial burden, and that will be something that will concern developers and could cause them to go elsewhere or change their plans.
You sort of answered my question, Mr. Levy, but screening involves planting trees, and you said 40 feet apart is the...
Every 25 feet, I believe. I'd have to go back and look, but I'm pretty sure it's 4 trees per 100 feet.
Okay.
You can also use fencing and berming, but typically the preferred method is planting trees. And those trees have to have a mature height, I think, of 15 feet. So those are, if you've ever gone and bought a mature tree, a good-sized tree, they're expensive. And that adds up you got 4 per 100 feet for a half mile. I can't do that math in my head, but that's a lot of trees.
Mm-hmm.
And again, you're screening, a cornfield. The owner of the cornfield or the farmer of the cornfield may not even want the screening. And that all said, a little bit to Commissioner Shore's point, there always is discussion. I mean, the developers I work with, at least, are happy to work with landowners. Again, but this is a situation where it just doesn't make any sense to me. I can't see a situation where it would make sense to require screening a quarter mile or a half mile away from the edge of somebody's house.
Okay.
Just for the board's benefit, the list that I have here says fences, walls, berming, vegetation, or some combination thereof. So it can be, there's a variety of options.
And I do have a question too. In terms of the solar panels, what is the height from off of the ground?
Sure. I actually have just,
Because the height would make the screen would be dramatically different depending
So the
upon the height, yeah.
off the ground, this is sort of typical. This
Yeah.
one's more focused on the distance, but this low, so the typical solar panel installed is called a single axis tracker. They're in north-south rows. They face east in the morning, straight up in the afternoon, and then
And they tip.
face west in the evening. When they are at their maximum tilt position, the bottom of the panel is a couple feet off the ground, the top of the panel is about 12 feet off the ground. When they're flat, they tend to be 6-8 feet off the ground, something like that, at this access point.
Yeah, okay.
Any other questions for Mr. Levy? Very good. Mr. Levy, can you, because I intend to talk about an amendment to the screening regulations when we move farther on, can you just leave your little diagram up
Oh.
there? Because I think it could be useful when we're actually having the conversation.
Sure.
And it doesn't, you can just set off to the side or wherever,
Okay.
so, thanks.
I would like that back at the end.
Yeah, you can have it back.
Okay.
I'll get it framed for you.
Spent hours on that drawing.
Yeah,
Of course
I'll
you
do
want
it.
it back.
I'm kind of proud of it. I even used a ruler and everything.
Yeah.
No, I'm happy to
We'll
leave
see
it.
it framed somewhere now.
Yes.
It's very
probably
nice
so.
work. We'll put it on the refrigerator, so,
Perfect. Thank you very much.
thank you. Are there any other members of the public here to testify in favor?
Because you're going to need a copy of that now.
Good morning, everyone. I'm,
May I go ahead and swear you in here? Do you solemnly swear or affirm that the testimony you're about to give is the truth and nothing but the truth?
I do. Good morning. My name is John Hansen, John, Hansen, Hansen. I'm the president of Nebraska Farmers Union, and we are in support of this text amendment. We have worked with the city and their ordinances in order to accomplish the successful siting of the Ranger project on the northeast corner of Lincoln. And it exists between the city boundary and the 3-mile extension past that, which is included in the city. And so as we were part of that process, it became clear to us that as the developer was looking at options, that the county of Lancaster was not in a position to allow the expansion of that project if it was a good idea to do, and there was support for it. And so we have been in support of asking the county to develop this. This set of rules, I think, are consistent with what the city has. We look at other regulations for solar projects around the state. Everybody gets to do it their way, within reason. And this certainly falls within, we think, good planning and zoning guidelines. We would be in support of the proposed amendment that David Levy spoke of, and that it would be more consistent with what the city does. And there is, to our mind, a significant difference between being able to protect the view shed interests of residents and their homes and driving by the road and the entire property. So it's a very substantial difference in cost and consideration. And so without having seen the language yet, but understanding at least the concept, when we reviewed this text amendment, it was one of the issues that came to us when we inquired. We found that there were efforts to work something out, so we would be in support of that. And so would thank the staff for the work that they've done and all the work that's been done through the Planning and Zoning Committee, and would just close by saying that we're in support of this text amendment 19007, and would be also supportive of the what we understand to be the draft amendment. And with that, I would end and be glad to answer any questions if I could.
Any questions for President Hansen?
Thank you very much. This is the second time I've worn a sport jacket since March, so this is a big deal.
Very good. Are there any other members of the public here to testify in favor of the text amendment, in support of the text amendment? Is there anyone here to testify in opposition to the text amendment? Are there any members of the public here to testify in opposition of the text amendment? Anyone here to testify in a neutral capacity? Any closing remarks from staff? Okay. If no one has anything else, then I will go ahead and close the public hearing. And we will move on to the correlating item in new business.
This is under 5A, resolution in the matter of county tax amendment number 19007 to amend the Lancaster County zoning resolution articles 2, 4, 5, 6, 7, 9, 13, and 17 related to large and small solar facilities as provided in Exhibit A.
Move approval.
I'm, okay, good. We have a motion. Is there a
Okay.
second? I have an amendment that I'm going to try to bring to it.
Oh, okay, I'm sorry.
Is there a second? Hearing none, that motion fails, but we will likely do another one here. Yeah.
Yeah, I would like to move approval of this with the amendment that refers to the setbacks that I believe
Yep.
Jen is preparing right now.
Yeah, so here is
Okay.
a copy, just so that everybody can see it. Let's put one up there. This is the language that I spoke with Mr. Levy and originally got this drafted up. And Monet, here you go. The county attorney's office wanted to clean up a couple things in there. We wanted to change the terminology from primary wall of the non-participating residence to, I think, a couple of things. So Jen has been furiously drafting and fixing. But this shows you the gist of it. If you want to see on the actual text amendment itself what this is changing, it's at the top of page 17 in the text amendment. So if you want to review the differences, you can there. The effect, and basically what this does is, what this proposed amendment does is that it's just like Mr. Levy discussed. Instead of having to screen the entire length of the property, it places the screening with the residents, the non-participating residents, and it extends 75 feet in either direction past the farthest point of the residence's building. So, and yeah. So.
The top of, okay, I see where it is. 13.058. So there still would be an opportunity for additional screening as part of the negotiations with a certain non-participating property owner. So
Sure.
that option is still there.
Yeah. And because these things are, special permits usually, I mean, for once, we're actually doing it right. We're actually doing the regulations first, right? like we have it in the right order.
Okay.
So, Jen, do you want to go through your?
Let's see. It looks like a lot, because I was furiously drafting. Let's see. Okay. There are just a couple shall and may changes. Walls should have been in here, fencing, walls, and berming. Those are just kind of some cleanups that I noticed. So this is going to be pretty much, I've tried to get at the intent of what David Levy's doing and what you are wanting to amend, but then put it into language that matches our current regulations. Like Sean said, certain words being primary wall, that word doesn't really exist in the zoning regulations. We would, it's better to just use language that we're.
Yeah, so we usually say closest exterior wall of the dwelling, right?
Yep,
Yeah.
so yeah, I changed it to that. That's in line with what we've done for commercial wind. So essentially, the screen would only be required if the closest exterior wall of the dwelling is within 300 feet of the property line adjacent to the solar facility, and this is just for large, by the way. If the screen is required, so I kind of broke it out into two. If for a non-participating residential use, the screen shall cover 100% of the surface area of the vertical plane extending along the property line adjacent to the large solar facility. So essentially that property line in between the non-participating and the solar. You have to do 100% of the surface area of the house plus the 75 feet on either side. Again, the only caveat to that would be if, say, the property line on the right only is 50 feet. We wouldn't make them go 25 feet onto another property, or so that kind of thing's in there, that exception.
And if we hit a road, we don't want, I mean, we obviously don't want the berming or fences to extend into a road.
A little bit
Correct.
pressure.
And then, so the other change is to separate out when it's next to a non-participating public park or school. That will still be the original 70% along the entire property line. Sorry, I don't think that should say surface area. Anyway, the vertical, essentially, if you're next to a public park or a school, you have to screen the entire property line 70%, instead of the full 100%. Yeah, so I just need to make a little change here.
So then I am in support of the language that the county attorney is putting forward right here, and this is what I would hope to have included in the regulations.
Because we want to encourage solar energy, I think that this is very acceptable to do that.
And in a special permit process, if we wanted,
Right.
if we felt that, you know, because of maybe the geographic height of a location, we could always extend that. We could always take
Right.
75 and make it 200 or whatever. So,
Right. I think that protection is important, and I appreciate you bringing it to light in this discussion, so that this is where we start. And if there are circumstances that would say this landowner needs more or more screening, let's put it screening,
right, if their house
we
happens to be on a
could
tall
make
hill,
that decision at that time.
I think that makes sense.
Okay, I'll second the motion.
I just want to note, just that small change, I just took out the surface area, and then for property line, I'll make it clear like we did up here, that it's adjacent to, it's the property line next to the solar facility.
Okay.
I'd second the motion.
So then the motion is to accept the text amendment with these changes from the county attorney's office that we have in front of us. There is a motion, there is a second. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, please call the roll.
Yocum,
Yes.
Vest,
Yes.
Shore,
Yes.
Amundson,
Yes.
Flowerday.
Yes.
Motion carries 5-0.
Thank you all for sticking through with that.
5B is an agreement with the Child Advocacy Center to conduct interviews and medical examinations of child abuse victims to aid law enforcement and prosecutors in their investigations of child abuse. The term of the agreement is October 1st, 2020 through September 30th, 2021. The county will pay $30,000 for the services.
I move approval.
Second?
We have a motion and a second. Is there any discussion? Please call the roll.
Vest,
Yes.
Shore,
Yes.
Amundson,
Yes.
Yocum,
Yes.
Flowerday.
Yes.
Motion carries 5-0.
I'm sorry, I just want to say one thing about the CAC real quickly. I should have said this under further discussion, so that's my mistake. This is just such an incredible bargain for the county. They do such good work, and having worked in child welfare, like there's just no one else in the community who I would want doing this or who is as well set up to do it. So I just think they do very, very good work. I think they should be commended, and frankly, this is a bargain. So I'm done.
5C is Nebraska Crime Commission Grant Award for Operation Tipping Point for the period of July 1st, 2020 through June 30th, 2021, in the amount of $89,115.
Good morning, Sarah Hoyle, Director of Lincoln Lancaster Human Services. This is a state grant through the Nebraska Crime Commission. It funds our gang outreach coordinator that's housed within the Lincoln Police Department. He works with youth who have been referred to him, who have been identified as at risk of joining a gang or a gang associate. So, any questions?
I will move approval.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Is there any discussion? It's a great program. He does a great job.
Thanks.
So, please call the roll.
Yocum,
Yes.
Vest,
Yes.
Shore,
Yes.
Amundson,
Yes.
Flowerday.
Yes.
Motion carries 5-0. D is a contract with Murphy Tractor and Equipment Company to provide annual supply compact track loader rental. The term of the contract is 4 years from the date of execution with the option to renew for an additional four-year renewal term. The cost of county is not to exceed $246,240.
Move approval.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Is there any discussion? Please call the roll.
Amundson,
Yes.
Yocum,
Yes.
Vest,
Yes.
Shore,
Yes.
Flowerday.
Yes.
Motion carries 5-0. 5E is an agreement with the Shammer Associates, Inc. for professional engineering services for the replacement of County Bridge D88. The work will begin upon notice to proceed by the county, and all work shall be completed on or before January 8th, 2021. The cost shall not exceed $138,488.
Pam Dingman, Lancaster County Engineer. Bridge D88, as you may recall, is on Agnew Road, just east of the intersection of Agnew and Highway 77. This bridge was critically damaged during the flooding of 2015 and then has subsequently been damaged multiple times after, has required actually 3 stabilization projects. Sadly, we are not able to stabilize this bridge long-term, and so we need to go ahead and design a new bridge for this corridor so that we don't end up with an extended closure in this area.
Move approval.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Is there any discussion? Please call the roll.
Shore,
Yes.
Amundson,
Yes.
Yocum,
Yes.
Vest,
Yes.
Flowerday.
Yes.
Motion carries 5-0. Number 6 is update on COVID-19 and Lancaster County response.
I think if, unless there's any other topics on COVID-19, I think probably we're going to talk about mass and maybe a county requirement for mass. Didn't you want to have that discussion today? We want, our county treasurer is here.
Is
Rachel,
Rachel
do you
asking
want-
for
Yeah.
an update? You provided us with a lengthy letter. My particular concerns had to do with the exposure at the door of your employees. So could you just talk to us a little bit more about that?
Okay, yeah, the worst exposure, I think, is at the door. We have somebody at the door to determine, keep the flow of people from being too many. Just, we only allow so many people into the building at a time. And if we didn't have somebody there, they would just keep coming and fill up the room, and then there would be no social distancing whatsoever. So somebody lets them in and determines if they need to go to the sheriff or they should go to a window and sends them to a window, and if they need an inspection, send them over to the sheriff's area. Sometimes people have questions, so that they're there for a while, and when they come in the door, we have masks available to people before, as they're coming in, but only a few people take any mask. Most people, if they're not wearing a mask, they don't bother. They probably don't care, is the problem. And I can't think of what we could do differently. I mean, we could put up maybe a shield, standing shield, maybe, but the person moves around. You have to move and go out the doors to talk to people, and sometimes he goes and he says, is there anybody here for driver's license? We have it posted in outside that if you were for a driver's license, you need to go to West O. But some people aren't looking at that and don't think about that. So the problem is, they're in line and they get mad because they can't do their driver's license business at North 46. We have the same thing going on at the West O, only that's state personnel that is taking care of that. So I have some concern, but that's not my responsibility, the state employees. My responsibility are my employees but the people coming into the office. Yeah, I'd love to have some way of, but short of making everybody wear a mask, I don't know of any other solution for the people at the door.
Your person who's, I'll say crowd control for lack of a better word.
Yes.
Are they requesting the people put on a mask? Or is I know that that's a difficult situation that's occurring in retail establishments across the country. I'm just
Yeah, I don't think so. I know when actually Kristen went and helped in the early days when it was a little bit busier, and she would actually offer, because then there would be 2 people at the door and you could spend a little more time trying to talk people into wearing masks, but still people are not wanting to wear a mask. If they're coming and they're not with a mask, I would say the majority aren't going to want to put one on.
And how many people do you see a day? I know that varies day to day, but just on average.
I would say somewhere between 1,200 and 1,500, sometimes more.
A day.
At
A day.
46th Street?
At 46th Street.
That's a lot of exposure.
It's a lot of people.
Yeah, it is.
But that's how many registrations, and I do it by the numbers of registration titles. And sometimes people come in, I've seen people come in as a party of 3 or 4. A lot of 2s, and then a majority is 1s. So I think by the time I count by registrations and titles, that's pretty much what's coming in. I don't think it's too far off.
And we're just ballparking here, Rachel, but what percentage of folks are wearing masks in your?
Ballparking, I'd say we're lucky to have 50-50.
And then when you offer the non-mask wearers a mask, you're getting a response rate that's?
I don't see that many. I don't think it's as high as 25.
Okay.
I would say it's more like 10-15% that will take it.
Mm-hmm.
It's kind of sad. I mean, and to me, I don't know how much money we're losing in CARES money, but I don't know what you want to place the value of a county employee at. We have one person that for sure has it. Yes, she could have gotten it somewhere else, but she's a homebody when she's not at work. And she has a 1-year-old child. And her husband was also tested, and he tested clear. So to me, it's the value of a human life.
I think Commissioner Amundson and then Commissioner Yoakum.
Yeah, and has the number of registrations by mail gone, or by the internet gone down? Electronic
Actually,
registrations?
Online registrations are remaining pretty high. They went up really high. Probably we took the most we ever had, 1,800, a week ago last Monday. That would have been the first Monday of the month. And that's pretty good. And we're doing those in this location here downtown because they are way too busy to do them in North 46. And our West O location is taking on all the mail and the drop box.
Okay, so they still are doing the alternative means.
There are a lot of people out there, and there are people, the phone calls are still 3 times what they were last year at this time.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what it was when we were closed to the public, but they're still high. And I said, Sylvan, why are they still high? We're open. And then he says, well, yeah, we have a lot of people calling to see if we're open, but we have people that want to do titles without coming in. And titles take multiple phone calls and take a lot longer. And that's okay in my book. I mean, people need to protect their health, and if they don't want to come in, that's a good thing, that they're trying to take care of themselves. But it does take us longer than in person. That's the only thing that takes us really longer. We can do a registration through the mail, or online is really quick, because all we're doing is taking, it automatically prints, and then we just take and put in the correct paperwork and the tags.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's the fastest. But yeah, so all those numbers are up, but we are higher than last year. We are catching up to what, from being closed to the public, we were only doing about 70% of what we did last year in business. We are catching that number up.
Mm-hmm.
We're over 80% now, probably higher now. But I can only tell for sure because we only have month-end numbers. Well, we have daily numbers, but I haven't sat there and computed those. That would be a little bit more intense work. But when I looked at the end of June, having been open just 2 weeks, we captured probably another 10%, so we were in the 80s.
Okay.
Yeah, I know you had some other workers also tested, but if that was their initial exposure, we may not know for 14 days or so whether or not.
Yeah, I guess that could be. They did get tested and they came out negative.
Right, but next week it might be a different situation.
It may.
But it seems ridiculous to me that when we have private industry retail stores requiring people to wear masks, that is one tool that we can't access. And when we're seeing rates increase in this county and across the country, to have this tool taken away from us that would help keep anyone in the facility, whether it is other members of the public or staff, safer, is really, really frustrating. I also wanted to say that I've talked to a lot of people who have come in for services who have been very pleased with how the lines are moving, and they said their wait time, they didn't feel their wait time was any different than it had ever been. It's just that some of the wait time was outdoors.
Right. Yeah, no, some of the wait time is outdoors. We have, Google allows people to comment because when you Google Lancaster County Treasurer's Office or DMV, something comes up and you're allowed to comment. Most of those comments are positive. There's 1 or 2 complaints, but more often if the complaint to me was, there's people without masks here.
Yeah, right.
I would not feel safe. I would want to turn around and leave.
Yeah, so I get that, and unfortunately, it is what it is. And I'd love to say we have to wear masks. I know that there might be some more problems at the door with people that are very, very anti-mask, but to me, that's the only way we're going to beat this thing.
Well, just tossing an idea here. What if you posted a sign on your door that said something like, due to I don't want to say an outbreak, but due to a COVID incident here in this building, we are requiring masks at this time. And then we could send a letter to the governor saying, because of this unique situation, we are requesting permission to temporarily require masks at this location until we're confident that no other employees have been exposed at this time.
I think that would be a very doable idea, actually, because.
Kind of winging it, but
Hmm?
I'm just kind of just tossing it out there.
Yeah, and I'm just saying, I think that would be a very doable idea, because with the registrations and with the, at the DMV and so forth, that is really a highly public place. And,
oh, go ahead.
and I think that that's one of the things that we could at least ask the governor if he would make an exception for this.
In the governor's guidance, he specifically laid out DMVs. He said DMVs and county buildings. It was, he emphasized DMVs.
Okay.
I'm not saying we shouldn't pick the fight. In fact, I think I'd sleep better if we did. But I feel like we should go in our eyes open if we're doing it.
Right.
If we pick this fight, and I think I'm for doing it, actually. Rachel, you haven't heard back from me since your letter on Friday, and it's because I've just been wrestling with it all weekend long, and I've just been, frankly, agonizing over this one. And I haven't known what to say.
Yeah.
I think we are better off, long-term probably, to pick the fight, or maybe not better off, but at least I'd feel better about who we are to do it. But we should go in eyes clear and not think, like, we might be imperiling CARES Act dollars to the county. We might be imperiling, because we still don't know how the state is exactly going to distribute that money down, we might be imperiling it for other people as well, nonprofits, potentially the city of Lincoln. I mean, it's not just, because the state still hasn't released the forms showing everyone how they're getting the funding out there. We don't know what the ramifications of this could be. And, especially if the Bacon Amendment passes in Congress and it can be used for lost revenue, I mean, that could be huge for the community. And I'm not saying we shouldn't do this. I'm saying we shouldn't do it lightly. And I don't know I don't know what the answer is. I think I would.
And I guess I wasn't approaching it from picking a fight. I guess I was approaching it for requesting an exception. We aren't saying that we are requiring masks countywide and all of our, 13 buildings and all, just at this one location due to this exposure. We're trying to protect, our employees as well as the public that's coming in because it's been in this building. And if the letter comes back, says, no, Lancaster County, you can't do this, then we'll.
Okay.
I don't know.
I think that's one of the things that we should do.
I'm not against sending the governor's office a letter asking about it.
Because we do have it documented, right?
I have a note from the doctor of the person that.
What I mean, yeah.
So how quickly would we hear back? I mean, I'm just thinking it's already been several days, and this process of, approaching the governor, hearing back is gonna take a while, right?
As long as he wants it to. I mean, we're in no control
We won't,
of the
we won't
response.
probably, Dave could draft a letter, I guess, for Sean's signature sometime tomorrow, and we could look at it on Thursday. You could go ahead and post the sign. I mean, it's kind of one of those things, what is it? You take act, rather than ask permission, you ask for forgiveness.
Yeah.
But because we know, we don't, want to wait, just the two things would go on simultaneously.
Okay.
And what do we do?
Well, yeah, if I'm hearing you, Commissioner Shore, you're saying, let's go ahead and put up the sign, require masks effectively now because of the confirmed case. And at the same time, issue a letter asking permission for the exemption from the no mask rule. How concerned should we be if the governor were to say, you've violated my statement saying you cannot require masks, specifically in the buildings Commissioner Flaherty alluded to, therefore you're not qualified for the CARES funding. I don't know that he would do that, but are we running that risk? I think that's the question that we're trying to make sure we answer before we take any actions like this.
Is it something that we could just simply call the governor's office and perhaps ask to talk with him, set up an appointment where we might be able to meet with him regarding this?
We could.
I think,
We're not going to get, like, they're not going to grant us an exception, right? We're not, I mean, it's not, we're not going to get the okay on this. So,
Okay.
I mean, am I wrong? And maybe I am. It's okay to say that, no, you know, Sean, you're wrong, you're wrong-headed on this. I just, like,
I think that we ought to,
I know this administration, I think we all do.
I think that we ought to at least make the effort.
I'm fine with that,
And I think that making a phone call is a quick and easy way to do it.
Do we want to try to communicate with the governor's office before we put a sign out? I mean, that seems, staff is nodding, yes.
that's what I'm seeing. So I'm seeing two issues here. One is we have Rachel's employees who are at risk, 12 to 1,500 people a day. Maybe 50% of them wear masks, maybe an additional 10 to 20% put masks on when asked. Let's say that leaves 40% of that 1,200 people. That's 300, or I'm sorry, 40%, 480 folks at a minimum walking through without masks. So we've got the immediate problem of tomorrow this is going to be going on at 46th and R. Do we have any options for addressing that? At the same time, we want to comply with the governor to the degree that we're able and protect the CARES money for all the organizations you've named. So we're trying to balance these two competing priorities. We want to protect Rachel, we want to protect the CARES money.
And maybe the money won't flow through us, but we don't know it won't. Because that information has not been released. Maybe it'll go out, maybe the state will, you know, distribute it directly, but there's certainly been hints that it's all going to flow through the counties.
I see.
I mean, that's.
We don't know at this time.
I think that we could call either Kathleen Dolezal or Taylor Gage. Both of those people deal with the governor's schedule, and see if we can find some time to talk with the governor just as quickly as possible.
And would Dave be the one to make that call, Roma?
I'll be happy to.
Okay.
If you
Yeah,
give me
either
the
Taylor
contact
Gage-
information, I'll be happy to reach
I
out.
think probably Matt Miltenberger is where we need to be.
Oh, yeah. Mhm.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
I'm a little concerned that, I mean, it feels like we may be able to push for this immediacy because of this current exposure, but as the risk dial has been going up, it's not just a today, this week, this next 14-day period problem. It's an extended problem, and we're going to come back to this again.
I'll just give you a warning that real estate tax payments, the second half, is due at the end of this month. So this lobby out here has the potential of getting very, very full. There is no line or notations of 6 feet anywhere out there. And probably sometime starting next week. We've had an increase. For some reason, people come see us for some motor vehicle things more so than they used to. We don't know who's telling people to come downtown, which is not a good idea because it's not that much faster. We've been getting some out of state, which we know they start out at 46. Those people get to go right into line indoors. They don't have to go back outside. And for some reason, they keep coming down here. And by the time we add the second half payments, we are going to be bombarded with people.
So have
I'm
you
just warning you.
talked to Karen about putting some of those?
No, I haven't said anything
I
to
think
Karen.
that that's
no.
one thing that we can do at the PBC this afternoon.
Okay.
Because we do have a PB, I've got a notation here. I'll ask
Okay.
her to put 6
Yeah.
feet
Yeah.
markings.
That would be good. And I have a Dropbox, but I was told I can't put it out in this lobby, so I have it right inside by my door. I would love to put it out in the lobby.
Why can't it be in the lobby?
Karen told me it's too dangerous.
Too dangerous?
Yeah, I
People
was
might
told
trip
I
over
could.
it and fall.
I was told I could have it, and then when I was ready to move it outside and get it out there, I said, no, we can't do that. We have to, that's too dangerous.
Can you check on that too?
Yeah, where were you going to put it?
I was gonna put it in the lobby near our door, so that people could just drop off their payments, any kind of payments. If it was motor vehicle, they could just drop that off. And then we pick it up.
It almost seems like we'd want that outdoors even. I mean.
Well, to that, we do have the box, the drop box outside on the 9th Street, that was for LES and other payments for the city. And the city granted us permission last March that we can task people to drop there, and then we get the payments from there. So they can drop them off, and we have put that out to the public.
So
And it's
that's
on our
for
Facebook.
any payment at all to the county that could go in there?
Any payment to the treasurer's
Treasurer's
office.
office, okay.
Yes.
You're right. We have probably a lot of other places that accept payments, so it's just you that has special permission. Okay.
I would assume that Karen Peterson probably, and we can ask her this afternoon, but I would assume that when she said it's not safe, it's probably not an issue of like people tripping into it or sharp corners. It's probably an issue of they don't want that kind of money sitting out in the hallway, right?
No, it wasn't that. I'm sorry, but it wasn't the money, because we would have visibility to see it, and we would pick it up every night before at closing time and first thing in the morning too. She was worried about it. It weighs with the base about 100 pounds, but she was worrying about somebody knocking it over.
It was literally a tripping hazard concern. Huh?
Yes.
Okay, what's the size of the box?
Be back up against a wall. I don't.
We'll talk to her about it this afternoon.
Yeah, what's the size of the box?
Let's clarify that with Karen, because she.
I can get you the size. I mean, it's about this.
Okay.
That big, and then it's about this tall. It has a
mean,
wooden
that's-
box on it to have it so that it stands to about chin height on me, maybe a little bit lower.
Very visible.
That's very, very visible.
It's just right by the door, and it would be against the wall.
Okay,
But I think she was thinking somebody might want to purposefully cause some damage or something.
okay, we'll talk with her about it.
How many staff do you have working at front counters like that? What's the number of people we're talking about?
Okay, we have, I have 12, 14, I have 15, but I don't use one of them because it's too close to the sheriff. So, and then we only use, so we're right now at 13.
And ballpark, it doesn't have to be
On 46th
exact.
Street, and then downtown here, we have 2, but we can have 3 people that might come up.
What if we did this? What if we'll direct staff to contact Matt Miltenberger to have a conversation about a possible mask exception for your office. Let's, instead of putting out a sign, no mandating it, once we do that, I think we've lit the fuse. And I'm not even saying I don't like to do that. I'm saying I think we shouldn't pretend like we're not. What if we worked with the health department, say, to try to get you maybe 20 N95s before the end of the day, a higher quality of masks for your staff? I'll bet we could probably do that, just for the intervening time, and then we could come back on.
And maybe even shields.
Maybe shields too, maybe shields. I'll call Pat Lopez as soon as we're done here, and we can maybe try to get them some extra protection for the intervening days. Let's see if we can get the health director in here on Thursday with us for our COVID-19 update then, and then on Thursday, after we've spoken with the governor's office, with the health director, we could make a call then. It's not a perfect solution. I'm not pretending like it is.
Okay.
I'm not in any way saying that I'm satisfied with it, but I think it's the best without pulling the trigger entirely, I don't know what else to do.
Okay.
Would that be better?
No, I appreciate, I understand the dilemma, I really do.
I know you
But
do.
I think it would be good that the governor is aware of what's happening and what's going on in our offices. I don't know that he'll care, but
We appreciate you bringing this to our attention and putting it in front of us.
Yeah. And I commend you for your advocacy for your staff and
Right.
trying to keep them safe.
Yep.
You're doing exactly the right thing.
well, and I not only want to keep my staff safe, I don't want
Oh.
anybody that comes into
Yeah.
any of my offices to have contacted the disease in,
Oh, yeah. of
that, under
course.
my watch. That, to me, is not acceptable.
So, we will be in touch with the, then if that, does that work for everybody? That sort of, that course of action, we can come back on Thursday.
I also appreciate that we really need to look at a more long-term
Yeah.
approach than just
I
an
don't-
immediacy of one exposure.
I don't deny that at all.
Yeah.
The problems that are here are not going away.
Right.
I mean, when I think of it, I think of, and we probably can't, everybody will say no at the same time, but we can't add a no mask fee to the licensing. You know?
Oh.
A mask, this
You
is
get
the
a
price.
discount.
If
There's
you
an
don't
approach.
wear a mask, well, we have to protect our employees' healthcare costs, so we're gonna charge. I assume everybody was nodding no at the same time on that, but
Well, I could come up with something on real estate.
Actually-
Motor vehicle might be a little bit harder to do, but I can come up with an idea for you on that, on real estate.
I appreciate the out-of-the-box thinking. That's
Right, right.
Is that smoke coming out of Jen Holloway's ears?
Stop talking, she says,
talking.
okay.
County
Maybe-
Attorney's Office just told
come on,
Maybe
Jim.
we should,
There are
okay.
no, I thought there were no bad ideas, Jim. Sorry.
So, is everyone on board with?
Yeah,
Yeah, let's
we'll
do it.
kind of,
Let's come back
we'll
on
powwow
Thursday.
with Dave and how we kind of want to approach the governor's office and
So
see.
we'll reach out to the governor's office. I'll reach out to the health director to see if we can get you some extra protections for your staff. In the meantime, I'll call them as soon as we're done here, and then we'll try to have this conversation again on Thursday with the health director with us after we've spoken with the governor's office.
Okay.
It's not a solution, but it's the best I've got.
Well, I appreciate you're trying to work with this, because I know that money is at stake, and that's huge. So I appreciate what you're trying to do. Thank you.
Thank you.
Next is number 7, public comment. Those wishing to speak on items relating to county business not on the agenda may do so at this time.
Seeing no members of the public present, there's no one in the back room, right? Okay. Go ahead and close public comment.
Next is announcements. The Lancaster County Board of Commissioners will hold a special staff meeting on Tuesday, July 14th, 2020, at 10 a.m. or immediately following the Board of Commissioners meeting in Room 112 of the County City Building. The Lancaster County Board of Commissioners will hold a staff meeting on Thursday, July 16th, 2020, at 8:30 a.m. in Room 112 of the County City Building. The Lancaster County Board of Commissioners will hold its next regular meeting on Tuesday, July 21st, 2020 at 9 a.m. in Room 112 of the County City Building, with the Board of Equalization immediately following. County Commissioners can be reached at 402-441-7447 or commission@lancaster.ne.gov. The Lancaster County Board of Commissioners meeting is broadcast live on Link TV City. For the rebroadcast schedule, visit lincoln.ne.gov. Meetings are also streamed live on Link TV and can be viewed on YouTube.
I move we adjourn.
Second.
We have a motion and a second for adjournment. Is there any discussion? Please call the roll.
Yocum,
Yes.
Vest, Shore,
Yes.
Amundson,
Yes.
Flowerday.
Yes,
Motion carries 5-0.
we are adjourned.